Bard on the Plains podcast with Mike McPeek. It's about stories, mine and yours.
Hello everyone. I took a bit of a hiatus this summer. I needed some time to recharge and do some thinking, but now that autumn has started, I kind of wanted to get back into podcasting again. I also wanted to have some time to relax and unwind this summer because summer is my favorite time of year. Now I have feelings about all four seasons. Spring, is about beginnings, new beginnings. The snow's going away, animals are being born, grass is growing, the trees are budding, birds are chirping, and all the other animal sounds. It's about hope and renewal. It's about life coming back. It's you're coming off a winter, and depending upon how bad a winter you've had, you're looking forward to the warmth and the sunshine and being able to go outside. It's kind of about freedom, being able to go outside without having to bundle up and put your snowshoes on and move all the snow and everything. It's just about being able to walk outside. And when spring comes, and we get a 40-degree day, we're out there in our shirt sleeves and we're running around. Now, if it's 40 degrees in the fall, we put our coat on, we kind of shiver a little bit. But in the springtime, 40 degrees is warmth. It's wonderful. So it's all kind of about perception and how you feel about everything. And when you're on the farm, spring is about planting. It's about getting crops in the ground. Getting everything ready, and that because that's how you make your money is but you have to put the crops in the ground, and then you have to wait for fall to harvest them, and you also have calves being born. So it's all about the potential out there on the farm for making money and new growth and everything. Well, so then you have fall, and fall is about harvesting all the stuff that you planted or that you started in the springtime. It's about getting your calves ready for market. It's you bring the cows in the fall, and you work the calves, and you separate the cows and the calves so you can, and then we'll sell the calves off because we never fed calves. So we would, but we get them ready. We'd castrate the bulls and give them their shots and everything, and then we'd send them off to market, and we'd have to listen to the cows bellow and complain because they're missing their calves. But that's part of farming. It's part of everything. But it's about and then you're harvesting your crops, corn. You're harvesting your corn right now. Small grains and such you probably are harvested in the end of summer. But fall is about corn harvest and silage harvest. And I have kind of fond memories of growing up in the farm. We would have our neighbors would come over, and we would help each other cut silage. So we'd go over to their farm, and we each contributed something to it. Some people would bring silage wagons. Somebody'd have a silage cutter. For those people that use silos, there would be a silage blower that you'd use to blow the silage into the silo. But it was about cooperation and helping everybody. And then it was also about school starting, and I liked it when school started because then I got to see my friends, but I also got away from having to do farm work. I did like farming, but sometimes you just got a little tired of the work. So then you went to school, and there was all the activities and everything else that kind of you got into and you liked. And then fall is also Halloween. I have more than a bit of a sweet tooth, so yeah, going around and trick-or-treating and collecting candy. So that's fun, and dressing up. And even out on the farm, we would go to a few neighbors' houses, and in Willow Lake we had the Halloween carnival, and I went to a few of those, and there would be activities there that have different games you could play. And this was all, I've mentioned it in one of my other episodes about, there's also a fundraiser to help fund the pool in Willow Lake. But it was a time to just, to have fun and everything. And fall is also about the hunting season. Now, I was never a big hunter. For me, it was more about the camaraderie of going out with people and being able to hunt. It's the the community aspect. And I was never really much good at hunting. If anything, the animals would probably die laughing at me because of my hunting ability. But like I said, there was just something about getting together with people and going out and doing that. And then, too, there would be, we would have people that would show up every year, and you come to make some new friends that way. They would show up and they would want to hunt, and we'd say, yeah, and we'd try to accommodate anybody that would want to hunt, because we understood that you have to have a certain amount of wildlife management, and hunting is one way to do it. Otherwise, you'd have overpopulation, and then the pheasants and the deer and such would suffer. So we always like to have people swing by the house, and we would try to accommodate them the best that we can. We wouldn't want to send somebody out where somebody had already hunted and chased the animals off. But we would try to accommodate them, and we had these people that would show up to hunt, and we had a few that was regulars. We had these three guys that would show up. One of them was a pilot, and the other guy owned a motel, and they would always bring Mom a case of pop, and they'd bring me a case of beer. And, there's just that kind of friendship from that sort of activity. And I remember one time my nephew was in the military, had one of his commanding officers, and probably had retired at that point, and he wanted to just bring his son out, and who, if I remember correctly, was disabled, and but he just wanted to take his son out hunting, and because he grew up in I guess his wife grew up in western South Dakota, and but he. So he would go out there and experience hunting, and he wanted his son to experience this, about the open range and the kind of the thrill of hunting, and being able to, it's part of the thrill of the hunt, and being able to bag your game, and it wasn't always easy. It would get away from you. You'd miss a shot. You'd wound something. You'd have to walk through the field to try and find your bird or your deer that you shot, because you didn't want to leave an animal out there to suffer. So you'd have to try and track it down. But that's all an experience, and he wanted his son to have that and understand what it was like, and just to experience this. How our ancestors would have had to. They wouldn't have been doing this for sport. They would have been doing this for food, for survival. But you just kind of want people to experience that once in a while, to reconnect with your past and have a better understanding of it. But then winter would come. And winter is like my least favorite time of the year. It's supposed to be about, recharging, renewal, everything. The trees go dormant, animals hibernate, the geese fly south for the winter. It's supposed to be about time of renewal. And when I was younger, I did like winter, because you had Christmas in there, so the family come home and you get presents, and there was all the traditions of the country church where we would have our Sunday school program, so I'd have to learn my speaking part, which I always kind of dreaded sometimes because I wasn't really great on memorizing things. But you would have your Christmas program, and then afterwards you'd have the bag of they would hand out bags to everybody that had peanuts and candy and an apple in it. So there was that, and then we'd go back to the house and we would have oyster stew. Never really cared much for the oysters, but I liked the stew. But there was that tradition. And then you just had to wait until we got done eating and the food was put away until you could finally open your presents. So there was that. And then there was always New Year's, which was about that was about beginnings and everything, and starting out a new year, resolutions. What do you want to, reflecting on the old year and looking at the new year and thinking about what's to happen. And then in February, I have my birthday, and I've done a whole episode on my birthday and how I, feel about that. But, as I got older and you got more responsibilities, you'd have to deal with blizzards. That meant you had snow removal. And we would start lambing in about January or February. So you were out there dealing with newborn lambs, and sometimes it would be cold, it would be down below zero, and you're out there trying to check the lambs and trying to keep them alive and everything. And there would be some long hours. I'd be short on sleep some nights, and I'd be kind of groggy and tired. So there was, things like that. And work has to be done on the farm, and sometimes you just can't help certain things. I remember one winter, the engine block heater went out on our John Deere tractor, and it was a diesel, and it's not going to start without having the engine warmed up. So I had to be out there in below zero weather, and we didn't have heat in our shop, so I had to drain the antifreeze out of the system and replace the block heater and put it back in, put it all back together and get it running, or else the cows weren't going to have feed to eat. And so that was miserable. It was cold. It was hard to do. But, it's one of those jobs that have to be done. And then just traveling in the winter, sometimes if you wanted to go, sometimes you would go down to Sioux Falls for a weekend or something, you drive back. And I remember more than a few times we drove back through blowing snow, and, it wasn't a blizzard, but it was just, the roads would be a little slick, and there would be snow blowing, and the tension would be kind of high because you don't want to have an accident, obviously. You don't want to run into a car. You don't want to have any difficulty. So you're kind of on edge and alert and everything, and then that, kind of drains you. And then after I quit farming, I started working at Dakota Style. I had a 22-mile drive one way every day. And early in the morning, like about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, so it's pitch black. And sometimes I'd have to drive through blowing snow, and that was kind of hard to deal with sometimes. And then there would always be the suicidal Bambis that would jump out in front of you, and you'd run into them. And in the about 5 years that I had to make that drive, I killed about 3 deer and wrecked the front of our 1996 Windstar van, and I can tell you it cost about $1,200 to fix that. So, that's kind of some of the problems of the winter time for me. But, so now we have summer, and like I said, it's my favorite time of year. School would be getting out, and it's one of those things, I look forward to school, but by the time you got to the end of school, you were ready for it to be done. You wanted to get out. You wanted to be outside. You wanted to be doing things. So, we always look forward to the last day of school, because then we would have our they would have track and field activities on the last day of school for the elementary kids, and so there would be different events we got to do. And it was the last day of school, so it was just kind of a screw off day. Everybody was laughing and having fun, and you were cleaning out your desks, and people were talking about things, and so there was that kind of excitement that went with it. But then you also have things like the 4th of July. And I always liked it because there was fireworks, and the family would come home, and we would have picnics, and sometimes we'd go and do different activities. I remember one time the family came home for the 4th of July, and we decided to go over to Lake Norden for a picnic. And going out to lakes wasn't something that we did real often, but it was just something that we decided to do that day. It was kind of spur of the moment, and we really didn't do anything too spur of the moment around there sometimes, but we just decided to go over there and have a picnic, and it was kind of fun. And we sat by the lake and skipped a few stones and walked around and did some of those things. But then it would also be, I can remember times too, when like my brother would come home, and we would go out and lay on the lawn, because out in the country you didn't have a lot of light pollution, so you could look up and you could see all the stars at night. And we would sit there and have discussions about science and science fiction and the constellations, and just kind of geek talk. But that was what we were into. So there'd be those kinds of activities. And then we would go for walks in the south pasture, and you were just exploring nature. Sometimes in the spring I would go out looking for the pasque flower, the South Dakota state flower, and they would be coming up in about May. And you would be looking for these little purple flowers out there in your cow pasture, because the cows hadn't gotten out there yet and hadn't started eating and doing stuff yet. And so there would be you could find a few of them out there, and that was always kind of fun to find them. But just finding animals and looking at the land and going down to the dugout. And I remember we had this one dugout. I don't know how they got in there, and I suppose they died off when one of the times when the dugout dried up. But we used to have crawfish in this one dugout on the south end of the farm, and we'd go down there and you'd have to look around, and you could find some, and you could dig them out. And we never really did much with them. It was just kind of the thrill of digging them out and finding them. We never cooked any of them. We never did anything like that, because to us that was kind of a foreign thing. Those eating crawdads and that kind of stuff. But it would be always fun to find them, and it's kind of the thrill of the hunt thing. But then, the work, there was work to do in the summertime, but it wasn't quite as bad. The cows kind of took care of themselves, but you still had to move them from pasture to pasture. You had to go out and fix the fence, or else they'd be getting out, which would be more work. So you had fence fixing, but there was also haymaking that had to be done. And that was always kind of interesting. And then you had to take care of, you had to go out and cultivate the corn and spray weeds and do all this kind of stuff. So there was work to be done in the summertime. It's just, there's a certain, freedom about it that, or it just didn't seem quite as intense, because you could get up early in the morning and it would be warm and you could hear the birds chirping and, all the animal sounds, and, quite often there wouldn't be any wind, so it'd be kind of nice and warm, and the sun would be coming up. So there was just this kind of, for me, I guess it was just kind of relaxation when you weren't working. There was this relaxation that you could do that was associated with summer that you just didn't have any other time of year. And then some of these, sometimes there was, you didn't have so much work to do, so you could go off and enjoy yourself and go for walks through the south pasture or through the tree belt or something like that. And so, like I said, it was just, I just really enjoyed summer. It was the season I liked the best. And, I still look forward to it. And like I said, as I've grown older and and times have changed, my feelings about things have changed also. And we're not on the farm, and I don't do things like things aren't the same as it used to be. Now, during the summertime, I have to go off to the school and do work. And I kind of enjoy that, because for a custodian, we still have to work through the summer. That's misconception that a lot of people have. Oh, you get the summer off. No, I don't. We got to go in there. We got to clean the school. We got to fix things. We got projects to do. We have to get the school building ready for the new school year, and that takes a certain amount of work. But there is a certain amount of freedom that comes with that. They're pretty flexible at the school. As long as we put our 40 hours in and we make sure that everything gets done, they give us a little leeway to play around with things. So sometimes we may put in an extra hour or two a day and maybe cut Friday short, or sometimes we even work like 4 10-hour days and just take Friday off altogether. So like I say, there's a certain amount of freedom that comes with the summertime, and I always look forward to it. And so, like I said, I just kind of wanted to enjoy that this year. Like I said, there's been some things going on that I just needed to think about and kind of take care of. But, I'm back on schedule again. I'm going to try and get these podcasts out a little bit more often. And I've got some ideas cooking in my head here. But, I hope you all had a good summer. I enjoyed mine. Here's looking forward to a good fall and a winter that maybe this year will be a little bit better. I can always hope. But, here's to new beginnings, or just keeping things going. And but just tune back in, and I'll have some more things to say about stuff. Thank you. If you like this episode, please leave a review on the podcast service of your choice, and please tell your friends and family about it. Or if you want to comment, leave a voice message at anchor.fm/bardontheplains/message. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at bardontheplains or on Facebook at facebook.com/bardontheplains. If you want to email me, you can send it to bardontheplains@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit bardontheplains.com for show notes and more information. If you want to find out what other podcasts I do, please go to McPeek Podcasting.com. That's McPeek with 2 E's. To see the other shows I am doing. My most recent show is Bard on the Playlist. There I play songs and tell stories based on them. And if you want to see the other projects I'm working on, such as photography and blogging, head over to mike-mcpeek.com to check it out. I thank you for listening and hope you have a story of your own to tell.